Shankar is going to start by showing you that you don't necessarily need to only use ChatGPT for business. Now, that is amazing, and we'll go through some more use cases for business this week. But it's actually interesting how specific it could be when you apply it to organizing time with family. And at the end of the day, that's probably why you're working hard, why you're in business, why you became an entrepreneur at some degree was to probably provide for your family. And if the time that you invest in your family and spend with them and savor with them isn't organized or planned, sometimes it just isn't the best time together. So if you're appreciating this conversation, put grow in the chat. We want to know that you're here. And Shankar, take the wheel.
Yes, absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I think you mentioned that correctly. It is about seeing that these AI tools can not only help us, of course, in our professional lives, but also our personal lives. Understanding, of course, that if we can leverage something like, for example, ChatGPT to help plan, for instance, a family trip, then that takes a lot of stress off of your plate, right? And you will perform better in your professional life and in your personal life. So I'm about to share my screen here where I went through this exercise. And I want you to understand that I think what I did here with my initial prompt, and you'll see that here in a moment, is really something that a lot of users don't take the time to just sit down for 5 minutes before they use ChatGPT and really think about, okay, what am I asking here? And you need to understand that this technology can only be as good as the info, the input you give it to work with. And in order for the technology to work well, you want to be specific. All right, so I'm going to share my screen now, and then you will see what I mean. As you can see, I came up with this scenario where we are a family of 4, 2 adults and 2 children, and they want to spend a Saturday in San Antonio. I chose San Antonio because I live here, and I wanted to be able to have a good gauge on whether what I'm getting is actually valid or not. And I wanted to add this nice constraint of having $100 budget for the day. And of course, we need to eat and plan in recreational activities. And then here is the part where I give ChatGPT something to work with, right? So adult number 1 enjoys taking pictures, and she would like to make sure that there are 3 sites along the itinerary that she can use for travel type photography. And then she gives information that her partner, or in my mind, adult number 1 was a lady, so I'm gonna say her partner is interested in history, and he wants to learn more about San Antonio's origins. And then there's more information. We learned that the adults love barbecue and arts, and there's a preference for maybe finding restaurants where kids can eat for free. There's a 15-year-old girl who enjoys shopping malls, and a 7-year-old boy who likes playgrounds. So upon entering this is what I'm getting, or what I got. And I
think this is interesting, Shankar, because what people often fail to recognize is that prompting is a skill. And just in that simple prompt, you have not just said, hey, we're a family of 4, we want to go spend the day in San Antonio, make an itinerary for me, right? What you actually did was give it enough to work off of based on your interests and each of every single person's interest in the family, so that it could kind of tailor an itinerary based on those interests. So I think that's something important to note, because people just sometimes their prompts are too generic.
As so often in life, we we don't take enough time to prepare for whatever we're doing so that we get the most return on our investment. And that applies to prompting AI, applies to a lot of things in business and life. But
And you
that's a
gave it a
very good
limit
point.
of a budget, which is, I mean, $100. That's, I mean, it's hard to go to a breakfast for $100 with 4
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. And I will say, Sinead, that I tested this several times. And as you can see here, we use model GPT-4, which is accessible for those of you who are on a paid plan with OpenAI. And I did see a very big difference between the free GPT and GPT-4, especially in its ability to work with this budget, because really the latest version has higher logical reasoning power. So it was able to do something with that budget request. So it starts off with the morning, and I like how it chose to break it down into the parts of the day. But as you can see here, it suggests to start the day with breakfast at home to save some money. And I just like that thinking. It's like this very practical housewife or houseman's like wisdom, right? let's have breakfast at home so we have that savings. And one thing I will say is that for those of you who know San Antonio, the way it's sequenced together this day makes sense. It's not like distance-wise, this would be all over the map and it wouldn't be realistic time-wise. So, and you'll see that, again, for those of you who know San Antonio, you'll agree with me. So first it says to head to the San Antonio Missions National Historical Park, and it says it's free to enter, and it will of course satisfy the interest in history. There's architecture in the missions. The Alamo, by the way, is a mission and is part of that park. The Alamo is probably something all of you know, or most of you know. And then it mentions, and the first adult who can take advantage of that to take nice Instagram shots. Then in the late morning,
That's funny.
in the late morning, it says to visit the Riverwalk. And again, for those of you who know, the Riverwalk is actually literally within 2 minutes away from the Alamo, and a lot of the missions are following the river, right? So visit the Riverwalk. I'm sure it means the downtown Riverwalk. It is indeed a beautiful and iconic spot in San Antonio, and it gives more opportunities for great pictures. And I can guarantee you the entire family will enjoy that walk. There's shops, there's things to see and do. Then it recommends it or proposes getting delicious barbecue, which San Antonio is known for that. And I like how it says, you know, you might want to check for any kids eat free promotions. And it says expect to spend around $30 for the family. For those of you who are deal hunters, you know that it's sometimes very beneficial to take an app such as Yelp or maybe Groupon and check for these promotions, right? And you can indeed find great deals, but you need to think about it. And I love that ChatGPT reminds us here to do that. Then in the afternoon, and again, Hemisphere Park was built when the World Fair was hosted in San Antonio. So it's a very beautiful park. It is the park that also has the known Tower of the Americas, which is that big tower that you might know of San Antonio. And it has a beautiful playground, truly beautiful playground. It's not just a regular playground. I go there myself sometimes to just people watch. And so the 7-year-old will enjoy that a lot. And again, it is beautiful. You can take pictures for Instagram. Parking is free. And then it suggests to walk over to La Villita, which again, indeed, is literally across the street when you are at Hemisphere Park. It features a nice historic replication of what a Mexican market square would look like. So the person who is interested in history will like this. And then it is surrounded by small local art shops, which is again interesting for shopping. And then it suggests ending the day going to North Star Mall. That would be a 15-minute drive from where we are now. And it is indeed the most interesting mall in San Antonio. The 15-year-old can get some shopping done. We get a budget suggestion. And then we end off the day by finding a family-friendly restaurant where kids can eat free. Places such as I think IHOP come to mind, right? Where you can do that.
Oh my gosh.
And so then what I did is, and I'm going to go over this quickly, but I said, okay, let's take this a step further. Let's say I would like to print out a short summary customized for each participant so that they can prepare for the day, right? So what it did is it basically gave me bullet points for the 4 individuals, and it listed each of the points of interest that are relative to their interests. So we have all the photography related points for adult number 1, and then we have the history stuff for number 2, the shopping for the girl, and the playground for the boy. And last but not least, I said, okay, on the way to San Antonio, we like to play interactive games in the car. Do you have some ideas for games we can play while I'm driving? And it came up with these 7 games, and I read through them, and I find that they are indeed realistic to play.
License plate game. That's funny.
Right. So like, it's not something where you would say, okay, if you do this, the driver will crash. No, I mean, it's something that can literally be played as imagined. So I think, and type in agree in the chat if you agree with me, but I think this was pretty helpful, because I'm literally going to, next time I have friends in town, I'm going to do this, and I didn't have to spend a lot of time planning this out.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think that, again, it's just we just have to get into the habit of practicing, and even for recipes, right? For meal plans for the week. I mean, there's so many things that as an entrepreneur, you can optimize outside directly associated with work, right? But just even your meal plans, that could save every single business owner probably 3 to 5 hours a week, right? Just because the context switching of, figuring out what you're going to eat in the moment, or just having to leave in the middle of your work day and then maybe going to the store. There's just so much. So I wanted to do another thing, which is